All right, y'all, we're queuing up some stuff here. I'll go ahead and record on this end. Make sure it gets captured on my actual computer. I gotta make sure all the technology and everything is tight. You know how we roll over here, y'all. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started here in a second. So I want to make sure that everybody can hear us, see us, and all that jazz. And we are live officially over on Facebook. Perfect. Look, I've been having a number of conversations. I said with y'all I was gonna stay consistent. And I wanted to make sure I'm bringing quality folks on that you'll get to hear from in separate areas. Now, I know one of the biggest problems for us, for anybody, coaches, speakers, trainers, especially when we're first starting out, is generating leads. It's getting attention. It's getting in front of the right people at the right time with as least amount of effort as possible. And so today's episode, I'm excited to bring this man on. First off, he's cool. If y'all have never heard him, seen him, I've had a chance to know. We'll get into the stories here in a second. But today is all about a certain challenge. And it's about, again, getting us out in front of more people with the right content. Obviously producing more leads in the business. So today's guest is an expert in one area that I love, right, for a number of reasons. And so y'all are going to really enjoy this today. So automators, again, welcome. We're here for another edition of the Automation Mastery podcast. I'm your host, of course, Justin Morgan. Help coaches and speakers create automated systems that save time and generate more revenue. And today, now what's funny is and so him and I met like let's say more recent, but been probably like 6-ish years so now, but I actually met you before now, and I didn't even realize that I realized it. Obviously I realized it some time ago, but I think at the time that I met you, I didn't realize that I really met you, because I didn't really know who you were. And I wasn't really focused on who you were at that point in time. So it's kind of funny that I met him later, and it didn't really click in my head till a little bit later that, oh, I've seen this guy before. I didn't even know that I've seen this guy before. But anyway, real quick, Barrett, I'm going to let you come on. Just tell us real quick who you are. Like, what do you do? Because I can't do it all justice. So real quick, if you had to give folks your quick intro, tell us who you are, where you're from, and how you serve.
Well, first of all, I want to know, who am I? You said before before you knew who I was. I'm like, who am I? But my name is Barrett Matthews. Everybody, what I do is I work with executives and entrepreneurs to help them find their ideal clients who may not know they exist, but want to pay them. And I do that through the use of media, specifically podcasting. But I use media to do that.
Okay, perfect.
The tech worry out of things.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll dive a little bit more into that because there's a lot to unpack here. As y'all come in, you also tell us who you are, where you're from, and how you serve. Okay, that's important, right? I want to see what y'all do. Just so y'all know, and I'll let the folks on here know. These will end up on my public page. As a matter of fact, this one's being streamed here. It's being streamed on YouTube as well. I also throw some ad dollars behind my content. Unless Facebook rejects this video, it will get swirled into a mix of content that gets beyond just the organic reach. So I like to kind of push this stuff out there. So as long as they like us, Barrett, you'll get this out to other folks. And of course, that means if you're in the comments as well, that me shouting out your business also gets out there to other places. So you can just keep those things in mind. It's a way to network beyond you. So, of course, payment that we ask for this amazing content from everybody. Obviously, if you listen via the podcast, make sure you leave us a rating. Send us a message if you're over on Anchor. Of course, that's at ampodcast.net. If you're over on YouTube and all that jazz, there's a subscribe button. There's a follow button. Just hit it. It's all cool. And then, of course, check out Barrett Matthews, the Productive Podcaster, as well over on YouTube. He's putting out good content. And if you think I have amazing people on my channel, on my show, then you need to check out his stuff Mine's still better, but you know his is a close
I've
second.
had you on.
It's a close. He had me on there, so that's fair. Real quick to answer your question though,
Okay.
because so I know Barrett, and he's gonna break the story, but you know he actually started in production, and I think after I don't know again. I want to know kind of where the bridge was between the production stuff and then that period of network marketing. But I met you in Metro before I realized like I had met you in Metro
Okay.
because you
Okay.
were the upline for a guy that brought me in, and so I think you came to one of the meetings, and
Who
it
was
wasn't
that?
until later on that it clicked that
Who was the guy that brought
that
you?
was Jerry.
Jerry.
Jerry Young, I think, or
Oh no, I wasn't
Jerry.
Jerry's upline.
We just had the meeting there, or
Yeah, I
something
knew
like
Jerry.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
It's funny because I drove by his house yesterday, his neighborhood yesterday.
Yeah, okay.
So funny.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think because we had the meetings in this place that was so good. If y'all don't know this area, it's a place called Greenbelt. And it's like a I don't know if it was Greenbelt or over by the Armour metro station or something. There's like a
Yeah,
building.
that was the New Carrollton area. Actually.
Okay, yeah, there you go, New Carrollton area. Yeah, I just remember going there and going to the meetings, and it just didn't dawn on me till later. And like I had met you, and there's one other gentleman that kind of sticks out on my head in terms of folks in the Metro organization that like I remember.
Yeah.
So it was just cool to then the years, the time passes,
It's amazing.
and it's like
how they intertwine.
right.
And then you were my roommate. So.
Right. we were the roommates who never really shared a room,
No, right.
but shared a room
Right.
because if y'all think like the stuff that goes on in the marketing world is crazy now, imagine you going into an event and the idea of the event is that we're gonna run for 3 days straight, and it's not just like
and nights.
right.
And night.
And I don't think like 3 days straight. Yeah, see me from morning to night. Like no, meaning 8 o'clock on Friday through Sunday, as in there's always something going on.
2 in the morning, you will find something going on.
2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
So that's why we were roommates that never shared a room, because we were splitting time. Right. We were never in the room, or if he was sleeping, I was
there to change clothes. That was it.
Exactly. So, and I kind of what's sad is I missed that stuff.
I do too. Right? I don't. Please don't tell them. You know who, but. But
let me tag him in a comment.
Please don't. You know he's been in the lab. He might be working on another one of those things.
Right. Virtual sleepover. So somehow it'll happen. Anyway.
Oh God.
Anyway. And then so I bring up that, and I know it's funny to joke about that event, but to me that event represented a lot in terms of I think what a lot of us want in this day and age when we're starting our business, right? Because that event, that 72 Hours of Power event, was an opportunity for a lot of people to get introduced to a lot of other speakers, coaches, trainers, get a lot of leads, get a lot of business that they would not have otherwise have had access to. And so when I think of what you do, and I think of a podcast, I think of a platform that allows anyone to start a platform that gives you access to an opportunity to network and reach people you otherwise would have not before. And that's really what I think of when I think of production in general. So like I'm curious, right? Because the production world intrigues me, and I always, and again going up through the folks that we know, I've got a chance to kind of learned the production aspect from the marketer side,
Yeah.
and really not the traditional side. And so, like, how did you end up in production in the first place, and what did that really look like for you as a part of that experience?
Well, it's funny. I grew up as a kid who spent a lot of time watching television, and when it's funny. I tell people it's kind of a funny story because the Brady Bunch, watching Mr. Brady, made me want to be an architect. So I thought I wanted to be an architect, and I was good at drawing and stuff. I loved it. Got to college as an architecture major, and architecture kicked my butt. The drawing part was fine. It's the physics and the structures and all that. It kicked my butt. So I said, I got to change my major because my grades aren't getting any better. And I remember having a conversation with my sister. And she said, well, why don't you go into like broadcasting, radio and television? You've always liked that. And my thought was, and I said this to her, I said, well, doesn't everybody? I didn't think of it as a major. I didn't think of it as a career. I really didn't. And I changed my major to mass media arts. And my grades shot up. I was dean's list, everything. Then, I mean, I got involved. I was on the school newspaper writing articles. I was the sports director of the radio station. I would go to all the games. I would call the games. I do color and play-by-play. I hosted the sports magazine shows. I did the sports cast on the news for our campus. I was doing everything. At one point, someone called me Mr. Mass Media, because I was just doing everything, and I loved it. It was compared to architecture, this was fun. And now going into my senior year, and I did some internships in between there, but going into my senior year, I got a chance to have an internship at Channel 9 here in the DC area, WUSA TV. And funny thing happened while I was doing that. I was a sports intern, of course. And then one day, after picking out some highlights for the sportscast, I walked into the sports room, and there was James Brown, sportscaster. And James said, he probably doesn't, I know he doesn't remember this, but he said, hey guys, give me some names, some race car drivers. So I started just naming some race car drivers. Now, I don't know auto racing per se, but I know the names. Okay. So I named some of them. He said, oh, wow, a brother that knows auto racing. And ever since that time, he kind of took me under his wing. And he even helped me with putting together my senior thesis that I had to put together. Then when I got out of school, I was trying to find a job. He put in a word for me there. He helped me get a job there. Well, I had some other people help me as well, but he was one of the pivotal people. Okay. And I knew going into my senior year that, although I did a lot of on-air stuff in college, I wasn't going to be on air coming out of college. So I had to work more on my production stuff. I had to work on the behind the scenes, the putting together the shows, the writing. And to be honest with you, Justin, I like that more than on air. Because I love, there's something about, and you know this better than anybody, there's something about putting something together and watching it come together and work to make everything, it's a great feeling, and I love that. And I fell in love with production, and then, after Channel 9, I got the job there. I was an assistant director there, and great times, man. It was some fun times. Got to learn a lot more about television, about production side of things, made some great relationships. And it got me an opportunity, and James Brown did this as well, got me an opportunity to move up to New York to work for CBS Sports, which was something I told people in college I was going to do. Never thought I'd be doing it 2 years out of college, but it gave me an opportunity, and I still am close with some of the people that I worked with there at CBS. And so it was, it was a chance to, to work in production with some of your idols. Man, I got to work with Brent Musburger. I got to work with Irv Cross, the late Irv Cross. I got to work with Terry Bradshaw, Dick Butkus. Yeah, walking through the streets of New York with Dan Fouts, having conversations, just me and him. It's just stuff like that. It was like so cool. One time I got to make a phone call. This was part of my job. I got to set up an interview for someone to go interview Roger Staubach. So I got to talk to Roger Staubach. It was just cool stuff. And so some of you may not know who the heck we're talking about, but these are legends in sport. And it's just cool to be able to talk to these people and to actually work with them and so forth. But it was a dream come true for me, and I got to do that. So it was one of those things that I as I look back on it, it was so long ago. I was just thinking yesterday. I was like, God, that was 30 years ago. But but it's just time flies. But I learned a lot, and it's helped me to move forward in other areas of my life.
Good, and definitely cool that you got to talk to Terry Bradshaw.
Yeah, we had dinner. That was cool. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Jeez, I needed to be at that table.
No, the best conversation actually was with Dan Fouts.
Yeah. Okay.
Because it was, how I was watching the game one time and he threw a pass in the back of the end zone, and I didn't know if he was throwing it away or throwing it to John Jefferson. John Jefferson goes up with one hand, just grabs the ball and pulls it right at the end line for a touchdown to win the game. And I asked him about that, and I wanted to know if he was throwing it away or throwing it to him. And it was cool hearing it from the horse's mouth. He said, I was throwing it away. Okay. And he said, JJ just would have made a great catch. And I was like, I always wondered that. It was like cool to hear it from that person. So that was just fun to me, just to be able to talk to him about that.
Perfect. Cool. That's actually something, it's like the intentionality of things. Mm-hmm. Right, with some of those plays, like that was genius.
Right.
To them, it's just like
exactly. He was throwing it away.
I was throwing the ball away. I mean, I had no intent.
Right, and that's the thing. Is like that's why I was that was my favorite conversation, because I always wondered and never thought I would find out. So that was cool.
Okay. So now, because I can hear and feel the excitement, right? So what happened?
Okay.
What happened to stop that? Because this seems cool compared to the
something else in this cup for that question. That was a great question, actually. So let me tell you what happened.
What happened?
Actually, I had a college professor that once said to us, "You have not worked in television until you've been fired." So when it came to my evaluation at CBS, one of the gentlemen, it was a few people, they said that they did not like my work. And I said to the person, keep in mind, they waited until they were all gone to the Super Bowl. So I couldn't face them, of course. They were all gone to Super Bowl. I'm serious. And then the person brings me in to tell me this news. And she was telling me who said this, who said that. And I was like, I've never worked with either of those people. And then this one person that I did work with said that I never gave him what he wanted when he needed. And I said, that's funny, because I actually put together a project, me and an editor put together a project for him that he got credit for, where he was told that was his best work. And he is still thriving in television production. He was on several shows that you all know of as executive producer, but that's the way things roll. And I've talked to other people who work with him, and they have the same opinion as I. But that's what happened. I got fired, and then I worked for a local Montgomery Community Television. I worked with them for a little bit. Then I just got out of television. I just got out of the media altogether. But just as you try to get out, it pulls you back. So.
So what was that's what I'm trying to figure out is because I'm trying to kind of communicate to everybody, right? Mm-hmm. That is trying to hit those major milestones of business, especially if they're coming from the corporate world, whatever world they decided to, or maybe they were coming from one business to another, or one professional career to another, that there are some things you're going to take from these beginnings, right? There'll be some lumps you're going to get.
Yeah.
So, and what I'm also trying to do is kind of a little different, because when folks see ads now and they see the presentations and everything, it's all about, there's always one little sob story, and then there's the Lamborghinis and the condos and the beaches. Right? So there's like all this other space in between that I think oftentimes gets undervalued.
Yeah.
Where it's just like the little things, such as what did you do when you left the community?
Well,
what pulled you out of that?
Maybe you got great questions because what actually happened then is I was still looking for a job in television,
Okay.
and I got a postcard about coming to an interview, and the lady's name on it, that last name, I said, that last name. I said, the only one I know that last name is the girl I went to college with. So I answered it said, call if you're looking for work.
Okay.
So I went in, and it was a network marketing company, not Metro. It was a different network marketing company. But when I went into the office, it was that girl I went to college with. She was there,
Okay.
and her mother was the lady running the office. And I started working with them. And one thing that triggered in me was, I can't get fired here. You know, because I just gotten fired. I was like, you mean I can control this situation for myself? So I realized as long as I work, I got a check. and she used to always say, Barrett's always going to eat. So I made sure I put in work. And this is something that she did that I thought was very important and it always stuck with me. She asked me when she was interviewing me, she said, so what do you want to do in the next few years? What do you see yourself doing? Now, I'll tell you, Justin, I don't know where this came from. I tell everybody, God just put this in me. I said, I want to move to Atlanta. And I never wanted to move to Atlanta until I said that, to be honest with you. I used to want to move to LA, but I want to move to Atlanta. So then, all of a sudden, because I think at that point, I'd only been to Atlanta maybe once. But then she started introducing me to people. She would say, Justin, this is Barrett. He's going to open up an office for us in Atlanta. That's how she would introduce me, by selling me on my dream. To the point where I said, well, I got to put up or shut up.
Yep.
And so then what happened was I procrastinated. I know it's hard to hear, but I procrastinated for 3 years on going to Atlanta. Because I kept saying, and some of the people listening, you may know this story for yourself. I can't do it until I get this right. I can't go until I get that right. And then I finally had to say to myself, Barrett, you're never going to get everything perfect. Just go. So I set a goal. This was back in 1994. I said, I'm going to go before my birthday. My birthday is May 15th. I left on May 1st. I just went to Atlanta. And I didn't look back. And I was there for almost 15 years. Then I moved back up to this area. But I learned a lot. It taught me a lot. I was in that business. Then I got out of that and started actually doing real estate appraisal. Once again, I am my own boss. I became what I call unemployable, to where I could not work a job for anyone else anymore, because I'd already conditioned myself to the point where my mindset was, if I even went in for an interview, I'd ask myself, why am I trying to impress this person? And that's what came over me. So, and like I said, I'm not knocking anyone that has a job. It's just, that's how I started looking at it, because I had been working for myself for so long.
Right.
And it was that I did that, and then real estate appraisal went great until 2007, when the mortgage industry hit that wall. And if nobody could get a mortgage, nobody needed an appraisal. So I started looking for work, and I got offered an independent contractor position, once again, still working for myself, to move up to Maryland and work for a company we're familiar with, Long Fence and Home.
Okay.
And I did that, came back up this way, did that, and the economy started getting to them, where they were laying off people left and right. And that's actually when I found Metro. And I did work for those of you who don't know, Metro is a public insurance adjusting company, helping people with insurance claims to get paid fairly. So I started doing that, and I excelled in that. And I remember very clearly, I was working at you remember the CEO space over in Greenbelt? Mm-hmm. I was over there working with my people in Metro, and our good friend Mr. Otts came by. And he saw me working. He said, man, you really put a foot up their butt. He saw me lead the group. He said, you need to be some type of coach, some type of action or productivity coach or something. And then he said, but you need to write a book too. So he was pushing me to be a coach, pushing me to write a book. So, and that's how I actually started morphing into where I am now. So of course, then I'm starting to actually be more of I have to create this now. I have to create who I am. And that's who I am. I'm a creative type. So being a creative now, writing the book, and I started doing videos and stuff. So guess what? The media is coming back. And it's natural for me. So I started hosting radio shows. I know you remember me and Chris doing a show together,
yeah.
me and Kelly doing it. I just started doing those things and doing more videos and writing a couple more books. And it was just easy for me. And I was, of course, it was internet radio. Then it was not necessarily always called podcasting.
Right.
But once you did the radio broadcast, it was still a podcast. So it was, and that's how I got into it. And my good friend, when I was doing real estate appraisal in Atlanta, I had a friend. He wasn't a close friend at that time, but we were friends. And you're familiar with him, the late great Mr. Clark Garrison.
Right.
And Clark, he was a real estate investor, a very good real estate investor, but the mortgage crash hurt him badly. And he wrote a book called How to Survive the Next 365, because he had to survive. He had gone from millions to downhill bad. So he had to survive. Then he started Survival Radio Network using Blog Talk Radio, which he grew into one of the top radio networks on Blog Talk Radio. I worked with him on some things and helped him increase even more. I brought him a lot of guests.
Okay. A
lot of the guests that we all know that have been on there, that have started shows. I'm the one that brought them to. They don't even know I brought them to him a lot of times. But I'm serious. He had people that started shows on his network that didn't know that I'm the one that brought them to it.
Okay.
But it's just, but the thing is, it was one of those things that the media was in me at this point. It was back. And I just had to figure out which way I was going to use it to my benefit and to help other people as well. So okay. That's Perfect. What happened in that little break there.
Perfect. I mean, that wasn't a little break.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was a long time. It was really over a decade.
So, real quick, right? Because I want folks to understand. And what part of that decade? So after you left the TV station, right? And you got the call from the friend. Mm-hmm. You got you saw the opportunity from the friend to do the network marketing thing. Did you feel like you hit an income level that you felt strongly about in terms of it being at a consistently high level, I can cover my bills and then some? Like, how long did it take you to feel like you got to that point?
It was probably a couple of years.
Okay.
Probably a couple of years. Because I had to, I started out part-time in network marketing. And I had a part-time job at Montgomery Community Television too. So I was still struggling. I was broke. And then things started picking up after I got, a hold of what I was doing. Another college friend of mine, he was with the company too. So he and I, we helped each other, support each other, even got a place together, started building each other up. Then he started doing better. He moved to North Carolina. I started doing better. I moved to Atlanta, and things were getting better. And the thing about me moving to Atlanta is it forced me to step my game up. I didn't have that support system. So I had to step my game up. Don't get me wrong, I had some people to help me when I first got there, because I stayed with my cousin for a minute until I got some things up. Then I got my own place. But it forced me to step my game up because I had no support system. And it's one of those things that I tell people, when you take away the crutches, you're gonna have to learn to walk or you're gonna fall.
I agree 100% with that, and I think it's even, I'm gonna get deep for a second.
Okay.
I think it's even deeper than that, because we have another good marketing guy who also, I guess, kind of touched on this principle. It's really just kind of there's like physics to success, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you're stuck in one spot, like in the same place, there's only, again, just like you're physically stuck in one area, there's only so many things within my grasp right now. It's not till I move if I can go access something else. There's only emotionally right? It's only until we're moved emotionally by
Yeah.
some stimulus that we start to experience stronger, deeper, and more fulfilling emotions, whether it be from a person, something we're listening
Yeah.
to, something we're seeing. And so, even with success, even with trying to reach new levels, it's sometimes not until you physically move into another space, another place, that you, again, one, change
That's
your
true.
access.
That's
But
true.
there's a couple of things that happen. One, you change the access to things you have access to, and again, two, you get, again, you kind of move away from the things that are either hampering you,
Yeah.
right, which is a thing, or the things that are holding you up,
Yeah.
which you think are holding you up so that you can stand.
That is deep.
It's not until, again, the glider is off the stilts that the thing can actually take
Well,
off,
let me
right?
tell you how deep that is, because you just made me realize something that I hadn't thought about. Is that, I'm sitting there thinking about, I moved to Atlanta and got some great, but what it was, and you just made me realize it. It put me in a position not just to get away from crutches, but it made me grow, because and remember I said I had no intention of going to Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
God had a plan for me,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
He knew what I needed, and I didn't. So it was just, I had to get there in order to see what I could do, because I wasn't going to be able. It was like the goldfish in the small bowl as opposed to getting in the pond. I had to get into that pond because I wasn't going to grow where I was.
Exactly. Exactly. So, for some of you all, and you're like, hey, I'm still trying to get this thing to work. I invested in this coaching program, but it's not helping me. I signed up for this course. I'm not making any money. And I'm working. I got my main thing, and maybe I did join this network marketing thing, and I feel like it's not making me any money. A lot of times, y'all, it's, again, while there are a number of different strategies I know will help you. I know podcasts will help you. I know automation will help you. Sometimes you just need to do little simple stuff, like make a move, like take off the parachute, like step out on faith, like go somewhere new, like take off the crutches,
Preach.
like take a chance. Right? And it sounds bubbly,
Yeah.
but so even today, right? So today was a cool day, and it's a day I haven't done for a while. It was just a me day. I don't do these. I haven't done a me day in outside of like Father's Day and birthdays, which in some ways are me days, but some ways they're not, because again, my wife does like an itinerary, or we kind of plan out trips and stuff, like which is fine.
Yeah.
Okay, which I still enjoy those times. Like I need those times. Those are good times.
Right.
But a me day is a little different. It's where I'm just like, I feel like going to ride my bike today, so I'm gonna go do it.
Right.
Then I'm gonna go eat some junk afterwards, which is what I did today. I went
mad at
I went and did a little bit of work at Panera, and then rode my bike out in Rock Creek Park. Then went and got some cinnamon rolls afterwards. Again, I said this is what I wanted to do with my day, and I was like, okay, Justin, what the heck does that have to do with anything? Here, make sure I just tie things up, okay? So I did that because, again, see this office, again, we in this pandemic, so we haven't been traveling.
Right.
We haven't really been going to area events, none of that stuff. And so when you're stuck in one spot for too long,
Yeah.
everything becomes stagnant. Right? Everything starts to just. So today was the first time I really kind of just went out and moved into a different spot.
Yeah.
Did some work somewhere differently.
Right.
Went to a new space.
Feels
And
good, doesn't it?
it felt amazing because I sat there, went to the park, I sat there and just kind of let all the frustration go. But what you don't understand is you can't let all that stuff go when you're in the same spot. Because if I release that stuff here, it's still here.
It's still
But if
there,
I
right?
go somewhere else and release it, I can leave it. And so when you left home to go to Atlanta, you can leave all the stuff at home
Yeah.
and then go to Atlanta feeling fresh. So some of y'all It's like, yeah, I want to win. I want to do this stuff, but you got stuff that you just need to drop off at that last checkpoint as y'all move on to the next thing. Again, that's my
two things I always say, Justin. I say, one, success and comfort don't mix. And success and convenience don't mix. So sometimes you're going to have to get uncomfortable and inconvenient in order for yourself to be successful.
Exactly. Now, if, again, I know we just had the soapbox moment, y'all.
Yeah.
I get it.
Pardon.
So let's give them a few practical things they can use. So I think those things we just talked about are actually more practical than people give credit. But let's just say, it's like, Justin, I'm not sold. It sounds like every Tony Robbins book out there. So let's talk about some practical stuff. Okay. Because, again, and I'm gonna lean on you here because you're the podcast guy. Mm-hmm. Can you talk? So, again, as somebody, let's assume that I'm John. And John's working a job that requires 40 to 45 minutes of his time, 45 hours of his time per week. He has a couple kids and a spouse. And he's trying to find a way to leverage that expertise he's built up over the last 20 years of his career and build a platform. Why? Like, what are some good reasons or good little quick things he can do in the realm of podcasting that will help him do that a little bit easier than some other methods that most of us will try to push down his throat?
Well, the easiest thing as far as doing a podcast is he's working all that time and so forth. Russell Brunson did something that was so genius. He podcasted in his car.
Yep.
He podcasted in his car. So, I mean, it doesn't get easy. If you're always working, if you're in your car, hit record, man. Start talking. Because see, the great thing about podcasting is that you don't have to be anybody but yourself. I hear people, they're trying to be perfect. No, nobody wants you perfect. People want you to be you. The people that listen to this show right here are listening because they like Justin to be Justin. And so John can basically get in the car, hit record, and you got yourself a podcast. You just mentioned something about Anchor. Anchor's free. You can put it up on Anchor, and bam, you got yourself a podcast. Now what you have to do is have a call to action. If you want to leverage it, you have to have a call to action. So what is it that you want your people to do who listen to your podcast? Because without a call to action, you're just talking to yourself. So the main thing is that you want to make sure that you have something that you want, some action you want them to take, and some way that you can connect with them. So meaning that get a CRM, get some type of lead magnet, some type of way to collect their information through a landing page of some sort, so that you can stay in touch with them. Hey, while you're at your job, John, you can send an email out to a few of them, let them know, hey, I hear you, I'm paying attention to you. Get a Facebook group set up where they can come in and chime in. It's a way that you can leverage it. It doesn't require you to take time away from all the things you're doing at your job and your family and so forth and so on. I'm telling you, anybody can do it. If we're getting practical, it's a matter of whether you will do it. And something you said earlier about, somebody said they tried the network marketing, it didn't work. They tried this business, it didn't work. I'm going to tell you something that you may not want to hear, but it's the truth. Network marketing does not work for anybody. Your business does not work for anybody. You actually have to work it. So it's never going to work for you. It is just a business. It is just an industry. It cannot do anything. You actually have to do the work. So if you're complaining that it's not working, start looking in the mirror. Because I honestly think that when people say that, they're just not being honest with themselves.
Right.
So I'm just saying, be honest with yourself. See, let me tell you something. I had a guy ask me years ago, actually a guy in Metro, he asked me, because the other company I was with, it was Primerica. He asked me, why'd you leave Primerica? I said, because I didn't build my team well enough. And he said, wow, takes a big person to admit it was them. It was me. I can't blame anybody else. It was me. I said, because guess what? I know people. The person that trained me is a millionaire right now. So how can I say it don't work? How can I say it don't work? It was me. I can be honest. It was me. So that's why I tell people, be honest with yourself and ask yourself, what could you do differently? So if you're looking to do a podcast and you haven't done it yet, ask yourself why. What is it that you're not doing? What is it you're telling yourself negatively that is stopping you from making the progress that you need to make? And then change it. Move, as Justin said.
And I'll add to that, right? Because there's many things that we see folks online that we want to do. So it's easy to look at it and say, I could do that. And then by the time you get around to try to do it, it's like, oh, I don't understand. But then we miss doing one key thing, right? And that's just asking for help. Like legit help.
Yeah.
You know, and it's simple sometimes, right? Because folks have, it's like, Justin, I don't get this tech stuff. And then it's like, well, I have a program where you can get all the tech help that you want. Or have a Tuesday show. We can ask any question you want. It's like, but you're too expensive. I have a Tuesday show. I answer questions, man. This is what I do.
Let me add to what you just said. This is gonna hurt some people. Someone told me a long time ago, nothing is too expensive. It's just that you can't afford it right now. And that does not mean that you won't be able to, but you can't afford it right now. So stop saying it's too expensive, because there wouldn't be a price that high if somebody couldn't afford it. Right. So it's just a matter that you might not be able to yet. So say, hey, I can't afford it right now. Then ask yourself this: how can I afford it? What do I have to do to change my life so that I can afford it? Because if you see the value in it, you'll figure out a way. We've all done it. I mean, here's the thing. It's not about Justin's program. Think about those clothes that you wanted, those shoes you wanted, that car you wanted that you said is expensive, but you figured out a way to get it. You see what I'm saying? So those are things those are luxury items. Guess what? They depreciate as soon as you get them.
Right.
If there's something that can help you grow, figure out a way, man. Figure out a way to make it happen. Then work like I don't know what to make it happen for yourself. Because we've all been there. Believe me, I used to say that stuff is too expensive thing. I don't say it anymore. Because I realized that if something is a price that is not what I wanted to pay, I need to figure out how to get it. And then go get it. Because we tell our brains we can't. When you tell your brain you can't, you make it shut off from what it's supposed to do.
Right.
Your brain, when you say, how can I, you make your brain figure out stuff. That's what it's supposed to do. And we say can't instead of how can I, we're shutting off our brain, man. Stop. So get that out your head. If Justin's program is something you see that is valuable to you, figure out a way to do it.
And I was going to say, especially in this podcasting space, y'all, like, and here's the thing, and we could do a whole other episode on this. It's one thing to do something, and it's another to master it. And do it with mastery in mind. And it's hard sometimes to tell the difference between somebody who is just doing something and somebody who's operating in mastery. And so when I think of how you operate a podcast and the fact that some folks are going to see what you do and they say, well, he's just doing it, so I'm just going to do that. But they don't understand the fact that you've been in production and you know the cadence, you know the timing.
Yeah.
You had experience with how you should voice yourself on the microphone, how to put together a production schedule, how to time out your content, how to organize the writing of the show and scripting and all that stuff. The ad placements, what are good at, you have a firm mastery of that stuff. And so sometimes it's easy for us not be able to tell the difference between, again, operating, just watching somebody doing something and watching somebody operating in mastery. And so while it's good to use the YouTube University to get started with something, once you understand and you want to start operating in mastery, that's when it's time to contact folks like Barrett that say, okay, cool, I get the podcast thing, but I'm trying to do more than just do this thing. I'm trying to be a boss in this thing. Again, it looks just like Dan Fawkes, right? He threw that pass. We can't tell the difference because he's been at it that long.
Yeah, that was a great analogy.
We can't tell the difference between him just doing it and throwing it away and mastery, because the fact that he probably has mastered it at a level that we don't understand.
Right.
And so, again, for him, he's like, yeah, I'm just throwing it away. But for him and that receiver who have been at this, who have abilities upwards of what the normal person would have, you can't tell the difference. So for you all out there, again, y'all just looking at stuff and say, I'm going to do it. Understand that there's another level to it. And that level only comes when you hang around with people, when you tap into people and tap into resources where you can master that thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's like my biggest tip to y'all. So if y'all want to master podcasts at the end of the day, again, Barrett, where do they need to go? Like if they want to learn how to put together and get some help with putting out an amazing podcast, where do they need to go?
I just want to text me. Text the word podcast. Just text the word podcast to 929-244-4323. 929-244-4323. And we'll have a talk. Let's have a talk about it. Text podcast to 929-244-4323. Let's have a talk.
Perfect. 929-244-4323. I'll make sure I include that in all descriptions as well, so folks have access to that, y'all. So again, if y'all want to blow some people away, and again, what's beautiful about the Dan Fawkes thing, and I'll just make this one last analogy so folks understand, because to you it says, well, he said he did it on accident, he didn't mean it. I don't catch the ball very well when I played football, right? I was a safety, so that's... I
did. That was my thing. I did. And actually, the funny, the receiver he threw through John Jefferson was one of my favorites. He was one of the first ones I used to see make one-handed catches. Now they do it all the time. And this was without gloves. So...
So again, I was pretty much opposite of that. Right? It's just
look, take the big man to admit that.
Just I play defense for a reason. Okay, we're wide receivers and running backs that can't catch at that point in time.
Ahmad Rashad said that one time. He said, "We got a great athlete that can't catch. Defensive back."
Exactly. But I remember this one game. They drove all the way. This team was playing. Drove all the way down the field, threw the ball in the end zone. I was there, caught this interception. But what was crazy is I didn't realize I caught it until after the fact. Now, to some of y'all, that seems like that's accident. But understand that every practice, you do drills to practice catching the ball.
Muscle memory.
To the point where you develop muscle memory. There's so many amazing plays over my career that usually those plays are what they call, when they say lights out, usually they mean that it's lights out because you're shutting stuff down. When I think of lights out, it means that mentally, there was nothing there. It was all muscle memory. But muscle memory comes from mastery. And so again, even when he says, it's an accident, I would beg to differ that
Yeah,
there
I
was
know
some
what you're saying.
right,
He's
that there
done
was
that
some
pass a
form of
million times.
muscle memory between him and that practice with that
Right,
receiver,
right.
that was a go-to play
But it
to
goes back to
make.
what you said earlier. His intention was to throw it away, but the muscle memory still threw it in a place where it could be caught.
Exactly. 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 So I said all that to say is again, if y'all just want to kind of do stuff, that's fine. But if y'all want to work with some folks that have some muscle memory, some mastery, then make sure y'all check out the resources available to y'all. Anything else you want to leave us with today, Mr. Matthews?
Man, I'm just happy to be here, brother. I just, I love chopping it up with you, man. You know that. So this is like, for those of y'all don't know, whether the camera was on or not, the mic, Justin and I can just talk about this anytime, any day.
Mm-hmm.
It's how we are. So I'm just glad to be here. I hope that I'm able to help somebody. I hope the information I gave was valuable to somebody. And like I said, if you want to talk, text me. We'll see if we can help you out. But I like what Justin said. One other thing I want to add. One of our good friends, Dr. Golden, he told me this. He said, people, he said, people, what is it? People to see learning is not done for knowledge. Most people think it's done for knowledge. Learning is done for mastery. Just so you can have a lot of knowledge, but that ain't gonna do that. Mastery is the thing. And I always look at it like this. I tell people who, and we all know these people that say, hey, I read a book a week, I read a book a month. That's like, if someone said, I heard a guy say, he said, but if you go to the end of the year and ask them to tell you about every book, they can't. But if you take one book and you read it month after month after month, guess what happens by the end of the year? You have mastered
that book. Mm-hmm.
Mastered it. And when you've mastered it, you can do so much with that knowledge you have now. So back to what Justin said, man, just master it. Just focus on mastery.
Perfect. All right, y'all. Barrett, as usual, I appreciate you.
Thank you, my brother.
All of y'all watching today, make sure y'all share this with a friend, a family member, or even that rival fan of your worst football team. I understand. Those folks suck, but they need this information too, y'all. I appreciate you and all that you do. As usual, treat each day as a building block to a better